Hey, this is Alan Batista, author of Light Tackle Kayak Trolling the Chesapeake Bay, soon to be author of Light Tackle Kayak Jigging the Chesapeake Bay. Oh, did I let the cat out of the bag there a little bit? I sure did. I'm going to have a second book, and I swore I'd never do a second one after all the work it took to do the first one, but sure enough, here I am. And to commemorate that, or to kind of precede that, I am releasing a jigging rod. This jigging rod, I call it Buoy 21. If you pick up that second book, you'll know exactly why I call it that. One of the lessons learned in the first book is a lot of people ask what kind of rod they should use, what kind of tackle. And there's a lot of rods that I like out there, but you know, they rotate from time to time, you know, they change from season to next, and you never know exactly what you're gonna get. So even you liked one rod last year doesn't mean you'll like it this year. So what I wanted to do is I reached out to Backyard Custom Rods, my buddy Steve Fogel, and I said, hey Steve, I got a really good project here I want to collaborate on. Are you interested? And I told him what I wanted to do, and he was more than on board. And the first thing I'll say is, I want to make sure we could do this at a good cost. Jigging rods are not going to come cheap no matter what you do. They're highly sensitive. They've got high quality materials. They're definitely no ugly stick that you're going to pick up at your local Walmart. So there's going to be some costs associated with them, but I said we got to do this as cheap as possible, and he thought the same way. So what I told him is I'm not taking any profit from this whatsoever. This is something that I just wanted to do, that he wanted to do, to get just the best quality rod out there, so that you have everything you need to go catch some great fish. Yeah, this is no playing. This is a wonderful rod, very high quality rod, and there's a couple of things that I did with this that are maybe different than most. Well, the first thing I wanted to do is this is a medium light rod. So you'll notice a lot of people use mediums or medium heavies. I have those as well, certainly not in this rod series, but I have them in my arsenal. But what you'll find out is when you're in a kayak, you don't really need as high of a power of a rod as you do maybe in a boat or if you're on shore. The kayak gets pulled along, so you know, it acts as part of the drag in addition to the drag on your reel. So that comes with some big benefits. One of the big benefits is with your typical extra fast rods, which you use for high sensitivity, you know, that refers to the taper of the rod at the tip. What the medium light buys you is a little more ability to keep tension on the line when you've got a fish hooked. So an extra fast rod basically means that only the tip bends. It doesn't necessarily bend all the way down the rod. Now, after some force exerted on it, yes, it will bend further. But a medium or medium heavy takes a lot more power to do so, and what happens is you can't keep fish you know, on the hook a lot of times because you lose tension. So we solved that problem. The other problem with an extra fast rod is you can't cast very far with it because you don't have the whip in the rod to really send that lure flying. Well, with this rod, with a medium light, you take care of that. You do get a little more whip in it, which is wonderful. It casts like a dream. I'm very, very happy with it. The other thing I want to add is, you know, imagine the tip of the rod. The tip of the rod acts like a spring, okay? I don't know how well I'm going to be able to demonstrate this, but the tip of the rod is really like an antenna or a feeler, right? You want that to snap back. You want to snap back very quickly. That's what the extra fast entails. Well, imagine the rest of the rod is a heavier, it's a more powerful rod. That's harder to send a signal down to the handle. It's harder to move a heavier object than a lighter object. We've used a lighter object here, and so you get maximum sensitivity. We've even relieved the back of the reel seat here, so your fingers fit right on the rod blank. And you know, I've made a deal about a bit of a medium light rod here. That does not mean it does not have the backbone to catch a big fish. It certainly does, as you can see. The picture I've recently caught. In fact, that was the second fish I ever caught in this rod. I want to make sure I caught a good quality fish on this stick before I got it out there. I knew it was sensitive. I knew it delivered the lure action the way I wanted. Everything was absolutely perfect. And when I got that fish, I knew it was a home run. We hit this thing out of the park. So what we did is we had to make sure that there was a good taper on the rod. And Steve and I, we took measurements from the tip of the rod all the way down to the butt end of it. And so we wanted it really, really small at the tip and then fatter at the bottom. And we tried several different blanks and several different rods until we got the exact one we wanted. And this is it. This is eventually what we came into. Wonderful power in the meat of the rod and wonderful sensitivity at the top. This is second to none. This is a very high quality rod. And it's a lot of fun to use. You know, when you get all that action, when you get that rod bend, this is really a lot of fun. The other thing I want to mention is what I did is when you're sitting in a kayak and you're jigging, right? When you go sideways, you're sitting here popping it like this, okay? This rod handle, we're always wearing life vests, scrapes against the PFD itself. And that's really annoying because all these subtle bumps and soft bites that you're trying to feel are getting impacted in the butt end when it rubs. It makes you think you got a fish and you don't. And you're simply just scraping your PFD from time to time. I got tired of that. So what I did is I cut the handle an extra few inches shorter. There's no reason to have that handle longer anyways. Some guys do like to tuck it underneath their arm when they're jigging. When you have a rod like this, it doesn't wear you out when you're jigging, so you don't need that extra handle. It's a little lighter in your hands, especially when you're jigging. You know, I liken it to hitting an anvil with a steel hammer versus, you know, a softer hammer that's going to take some of the blow. So every time you pop that, it doesn't transfer down your wrist. So it's very comfortable. That's a big deal to me because you're going to be sitting here holding this in your hands all day long. So you need to have that comfort. The other thing is, you know, I brand this a jigging rod. I also use it for my other favorite method, which is throwing jerk baits. So imagine I'm sitting here, you know, I'm casting, and I jerk it. And I'm jerking the rod, okay? Look at what that handle's doing, okay? It's not hitting me in the wrist. I have a lot of motion. Let me take this next step further, and let me show you another rod. This is a typical rod. I can't jerk that bait as far because that hits me in the wrist. With this longer handle, it hits me in the wrist, and that's really a pain. So this rod does everything that you need it to do, even for jerk bait, which is basically horizontal jigging. When you throw it out there, you pop it a few times, and you reel in the slack, and you wait until it sits there just a second or so, and that's when the fish strikes. So you need that extra sensitivity on that rod for those situations as well. So a lot of great selling points to this rod. One of the other things I'll show you, the artwork. All custom designed to fit this rod by yours truly. We call this rod Buoy 21. And here's the striped bass wrap with my name and Steve's name. That's a picture of the biggest rockfish I ever caught, superimposed atop the Maryland flag and the Chesapeake Bay. And what does that say there? Make your own luck. That's to remind you when you're out there, persevere. Sometimes the bite's going to be tough, but if you stick with it, you're going to catch some good fish. One thing I want to talk about, you're probably asking, how much does this thing cost? So here's the deal. When I told Steve that I wanted to build this rod, I said, look, I don't want any profit from this. I don't want any money from it. I just want to create something good for people. And we talked about how to keep the price low. Steve will get some wholesale discounts. I said, but the only thing I want is when I want another rod, I just want you to make it for me at the cost of your materials. You know, so he'll donate his time to me when I need another rod, just like he did with this one. And so I'll tell you what, I hope Steve doesn't mind me telling you, but I paid $150 for just the materials in this rod. And so that may bring up the register a little bit in some of your minds as far as, you know, what this thing is going to cost. And a typical business model, the way other shops would charge for this should be a $300 rod. Usually when you deal in retail and things like that, you know, half is material or even a third is a material and the rest is markup and profit and that kind of thing. So you are not skimping anything on this rod. This rod is going to be under $200, and that's insane. That's absolutely insane. And that's no joke. I don't know how Steve does it. I think he just does it for the love of his customers, for the love of the craft, and for the love of making rods for people that catch fish and enjoy them and share with them. So you're getting a rod that's probably valued closer to $300 for under $200, and that's no kidding. This is a wonderful rod. You will love every second of it. We put all the quality into it where it needs to be. We've got Nice cork handles, that was a big thing for us. We want to make sure that it felt really good in the hand. Steve did nice threading work all the way up through. We've got high quality guides all the way up. And at the very end, we put a gold nanoplasma ring. And that costs a bit more than the rest of the guides. But what that is that's a near zero coefficient of friction rod tip. And it's supposed to be braid proof. That's the purpose of it. And that's to say, we cheaped out in the other guides. We did not. Those are also high quality guides, but we put extra value into the tip of it because that's where the highest stress of your braid is. And we don't want that to fray any of your braided lines and perhaps lose a fish. So we put extra value in there. We did not add the fancy trim pieces and the winding checks that do nothing more than add cost and add weight to your rod, which you do not need. What we did instead is, like I said, when I showed you earlier, we put these, we designed these nice quality decals. Buoy 21. And here's the rockfish. That's what we did. We put those on there. We paid homage to the guys that fish the bay, the guys that work the bay and appreciate and love it just like we do. We did this out of a labor of love for you guys, and we really hope we enjoy it. We wanted to get a good quality rod out there at the best possible price, the best possible performance that is second to none. That's what I guarantee you. You'll love this rod. And like I said, I'm going to be using it myself. This is going to be my main rod. And I expect the best from my equipment, and you should too. So if you want to pick one of these up, give Steve a call, Backyard Custom Rods. And I'll put that down at the bottom of the screen here just so you can catch it. I can take orders and I can send it to Steve, but really Steve's the one that's going to be taking this from here. So I'd love to see pictures of you with your Buoy 21 rods. That would warm my heart in ways I don't think you'd understand, but this is something we did for you guys, and we really hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much. I appreciate you supporting us over the years, and keep following along. We'd love to hear from you too. Thanks, guys.